students, welcome back. This is Torres, Elbow Bump. How are you? Are you doing okay? Is your family okay? Remember, if you need anything, please shoot me an email so that I can try to help in whatever way I can. So lucky you, you get to hear my voice for another lecture. But the best part is we will be reviewing how to plot points on a Cartesian plane. Yay! The focus of this unit is going to be working with plotting points, creating scatter plots. And so I wanted to just take a moment and do a short video on how to plot points on a Cartesian plane. We can describe where points are located in space by using the Cartesian plane. You might also know this as the coordinate plane. The Cartesian plane has two axes. It has an x-axis, which is this horizontal axis right here, and it has a vertical axis, which we call the y-axis, which is this one right here. The place where the two axes intersect is called the origin. The x and y axes separate the coordinate plane into four regions called quadrants. The first region is right here. The second region is right here. The third region is underneath the second region. And the last region is underneath the first region. So you can kind of see that it goes counterclockwise. And the quadrants are usually denoted with Roman numerals. So you have like the I, then two I's, then three I's, and then IV. Okay, so they're usually labeled with Roman numerals. In order to describe where a point is in space, we use an ordered pair. So this is an example of an ordered pair right here. You can see that it has a parentheses, it has a number, a comma, another number, and then it closes the parentheses. The first number is the x-coordinate, meaning where that number falls on the x-axis. The second number is the y-coordinate, and it tells us where that number would fall on the y-axis. So where these two numbers, the -3 on the x-axis and the +2 on the y-axis intersect is where we would plot the point -3, 2. This is the x value and the y value. X, we would go in the negative direction 3 spaces and then go up 2 spaces. Okay, so it has the x and the y. If we go back and look at the quadrants, we can see that the points in each one of the quadrants have the same signs. So for example, in quadrant 1, if I were to start at the origin and go over on the x-axis and up on the y-axis, my x-axis value is going to be positive and my y value is also going to be positive. So if I have a point in quadrant 1, both the x value and the y value are positive. If I look at quadrant 2, I would start at the origin and go in the negative direction on the x-axis and then up in the positive direction of the y-axis. Therefore, all the points that are in quadrant 2 will have a negative x value and a positive y value. In quadrant 3, what would happen is I would start at the origin, I would go left on the x-axis and down on the y-axis, so all the points in quadrant 3 would have a negative x and a negative y. In quadrant 4, they would have the same signs as well, but this time I would go over in the positive direction on the x and down in the negative direction on the y. So all my x values would be positive and all my y values would be negative. So just by looking at my points, at my ordered pair, I would be able to tell which quadrant that point would be in. Now for statistics, we are really just working with quadrant 1. So we're really just working with these values right here because a lot of the times negative values would be nonsensical. The next few lectures we will see examples of where a negative value doesn't really make sense. But it's important to know that when we're working with these, that there can actually be negative values in ordered pairs. So let's just do some simple quick practice. So here I have marked a point with the letter A, and the question is, which one of these describes the ordered pair? For those of you that are used to just like doing the counting, perfect. But is there a situation where you can at least narrow it down a little bit just using the information we talked about with the regions having a pattern to the ordered pairs within that particular region? So the answer for this one is number 2, 1, 3. We go over 1 and up 3, so that would be the place where A is, that would be the ordered pair 1, 3. But then also we could have narrowed down the options here just by knowing that these numbers have negatives, or these options, these ordered pairs have negatives, and everything in quadrant 1 is positive, both the X and the Y. Okay, now this one is not in a quadrant, right? Because it's right on top of the Y axis. It's not in any quadrant. So in order for it to be on the Y axis, that means that it could not have moved off the origin to go either left or right. So the X value would remain 0. And we can see that we have 2 of these where the X value remains 0, but then the Y value is negative. So the answer for this one is number 1, 0, -4. This one is in quadrant 3, and we can look at these without even counting, and you should be able to tell which one this is. And if you wanted to count, you could go over from the origin, starting at the origin, count over to the D. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and down 1. So it would be -6, -1. So the answer is 2. Okay, so this one looks at point B, and we can see that this is in the 4th quadrant. So looking at these, you can kind of get an idea of which one it's going to be. If you wanted to count, you would see that if you started at the origin, you would go to the right 3 spaces, 3 whole numbers, and down 2 numbers, 2 whole numbers. So then you would end up with 3, -2, and that would be number 4. Okay, so we've already gone through these. This should be pretty easy review for you. Again, I want to emphasize that we're mostly going to be working on the ordered pairs that are in quadrant 1. Okay, now this one just asks you which quadrant each point is located, and this one has a -5, 4. So you're going to think which quadrant are you going to go over in the negative on the X and up on the Y, and that would be quadrant 2. This one has 2 negative numbers. So the X is negative and the Y is negative, so you would have ended up in quadrant 3. This one, you have to think about what happens first. The X doesn't move. It stays on the origin, and then on the Y value, it goes up. So this is only on the Y axis. So what's the big idea? Today's big idea is that ordered pairs describe where points are located on a plane. The Cartesian plane is divided into 4 quadrants by 2 axes. The location of the points are described by ordered pairs that have an X and a Y value. So that's it for today. With that said, don't forget to check your emails, check Blackboard, do your homework, and subscribe to this channel. Even better, hit that notification bell so you know when there are new videos for this course. Okay? This is your teacher, Torres, saying stay safe, and I will be waiting to give you a virtual elbow bump in the next video. Ciao!